Good morning, everybody. I'd like to call the executive committee to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Samuelson.
Here.
Mr. Steingart.
Here.
Mrs. Labuda.
Here.
Ms. Vedder. Mr. Ruiz.
Here.
Mrs. Geiger.
Here.
Mrs. Edwards.
Here.
Mr. Benson.
Here.
Mr. Sorensen.
Here.
All set? Thank you. At this point, I'd like to, Josh, do you have anything? Okay. Sam, anything?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
The office, because of I being ill for a while last month, was under a lot of pressure, but I'm back, and during that period of time, we had two impressive wins in the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. Tom won the Ukachowski case, and Cheryl won the Allen case, and that case was something that took her months to prepare, brief, and argue. That was an appeal from the trial I had a year ago. We have actually one federal case that's pending a decision right now, and three other cases that are open, one of which is the Leone case, and that's the suicide in the jail case. And I just want to remind everybody that that case is pending. Pardon my voice, that will come back too. We're at a stage now where we're going to have to retain three different experts. So there's going to be an expenditure of funds. We'll do it under purchase orders. We're going to need three experts, one for valuation of what Mr. Leone might have earned during his lifetime had he not committed suicide. The second will be an expert with respect to whether or not our psychiatrists did the right thing in terms of what they prescribed and how they prescribed and when they prescribed. and
This
what
is the
have
same
you.
person who escaped?
Yes, it is. And the third expert will be dealing with what type of pain and suffering he may have gone through in the minutes during the actual suicide. All of those things are subject to expert testimony if this case goes to trial. Those experts, unfortunately, don't come cheap, but we've gotten to the point of discovery and pretrial in this case that's the next thing to be done. We're going to use, with respect to the pain and suffering issue, I'm going to use the medical examiner in Westchester County who took the original tissue slides. She's quite good. She testified. You won't know her by name, but the most recent thing in which she testified was the murder case that Jim Farrell and Mr. Lungin jointly had a few months ago.
The Novak.
Yeah,
Novak.
and they used her in that case as well.
Can you clarify something for me? I'm a bit confused.
Certainly.
You say it's in pretrial if this goes to trial, right?
Yes.
So it would be a
because-
jury trial if it goes to trial?
If it goes to trial, they've asked for a jury trial. Where we are in this case, discovery involves depositions, exchanging documents, and there are thousands of documents that go back and forth, all the logbooks that were kept in the jail and things of that sort. Deposing all of the court officers, which we have now done, correction officers, which have now been done. Deposing our doctors, which have now been done. The last part of pretrial discovery is the experts. Then in this case, the court has done something a little unusual. The district court judge has directed that the magistrate judge call us in for a settlement conference. something that doesn't happen in most federal cases, but in this one, the district judge directed it. So there will be a settlement conference that is court-ordered here, and that settlement conference will be before the magistrate judge. That will happen probably January, February, sometime, some point along that time. At that point, if there's no settlement, we have an opportunity to make what are known as dispositive motions which could totally resolve the case. Motions for summary judgment. So we will then go through that forum, and then if the case is still unresolved after all of that is done, then there's a trial. That's how the Lillian Allen case went last year and came to be tried last summer. It got partially resolved by summary judgment, which took some of the issues out of the case, but not all of them, so we had to try some of them. These experts will likely be important in any summary judgment motion as well as any trial if we get that far. So we're down to, we have 2 experts so far selected, and we're now working on selecting the 3rd. We have another matter pending that Tom is going to be talking to you about in the executive session at the conclusion of open session here. And you've been busy, and even in state court, Tom was in the appellate division yesterday in the matter involving the foreclosure in Jeffersonville, and not quite in state, it's actually in court. Lori's handling a juvenile delinquency case, so the office is busy, but running well.
Okay, thank you. Congratulations on the 2 cases that were won. Thank you to you and the staff. Every time you win one of those cases, it's good for us, I know that.
Well,
Kathy, do you have a question?
The one that Cheryl handled in one is particularly important, because that was a case that involved the sheriff's ability to conduct drug tests, and what he needs in order to be able to conduct a drug test and how the drug test can be conducted. Lillian Allen complained essentially about 2 things that she said were unconstitutional. Did we have a constitutional basis for conducting the test in the first place? And did we have a constitutional basis for having an observer seeing the actual collection of urine? The fact that the Circuit Court of Appeals has now affirmed what we did way back in 2007 is important, because it now gives the sheriff the ability to conduct tests going forward.
Thank you.
Sorry, Kathy.
Never mind, it's okay.
Okay.
I'll wait till later then. Yes, dear.
Okay, we don't have any presentations. We do have a discussion today on the Charter Commission, and thank you. Rob Green is here, who is the last chairman of the Charter Committee, to help us talk about what they did and going forward with what we want to do. Unfortunately, Dick Reisling was supposed to be here as well, and I did send you an email. Unfortunately, he was injured in a car accident last week. He's okay, but he's just not up to being here today. He is sending something, and he is going to check now. If he doesn't send anything, it won't matter, because we'll continue this discussion in next month's meeting as well, so he can come back at that point as well. But before we go into the discussion, I thought maybe we could go through the resolutions, get that out of the way, and then just do the discussion. So I'd like to now wait for Annie to come back.
It's not that you'd like to, but you have to.
Well, I don't know, Gene, you're really good at this.
I know I am, but it's not executive session. That's only when I can.
No, I know. Okay, there she is. Okay, great. So the first resolution is to authorize the county manager to enter into a power purchase agreement with Solar City Corporation. Motion,
Move
Kitty,
it.
second, Kathy. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Okay,
Mine's up.
thank you. Number 2 is to modify Resolution 361 of 2012 with Coordinated Care Services Incorporated. Motion, Kitty, second, Jean. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed?
Mine's up.
Okay, thank you. Number 3, reclassify a position in the treasurer's department to principal account clerk.
Second.
Jean, Kathy, yes. Yes, there's going to be discussion, but I just want to remind everybody, Ira came to us last month and,
Yeah.
and had mentioned this and had explained the reasons that we were doing it, but go ahead, any question or discussion?
I just wanted to clarify, because I thought we did discuss.
We did, yeah. Nancy is here, she can make it.
And for the clarification, this is moving somebody up a grade, down a grade, and/or financial.
Putting them in the right
Implications.
classification for the job they're doing. They're working out of title.
And it's approximately $5,000 next year for the full year.
More.
She is working way under title.
Okay.
Over.
Oh, yeah, well, excuse me. Yeah,
We're trying to put it in the right title.
yeah, exactly.
So she's
been a
below
long
the
day.
title that she actually works, and she'll get $5,000 more if this passes.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
9-0.
Okay, thank you. Number 4, authorize the prepayment of radio equipment purchased in conjunction with the SICG Round 1 grant program. Motion?
Move it.
Jean, Kathy? Discussion?
I was just wondering, there wasn't a certificate of.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Handout.
It was a handout.
Oh, I'm
You
sorry.
should have it.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Yes, that one I'm down.
So the CA, you want to take a look at the CF,
Yeah, yeah.
CF before we go here?
So the county share is 0,
Correct.
reading this.
Mhm.
Like a little funding 0.
I have 2 bits of information, but they're not on the resolution.
Okay.
One is that Alex told me after the public safety meeting today that they have a 30-day extension. And he's not here, but I just want to have Angela speak to the order in which it's being done as opposed to a reimbursement, it's a prepayment.
I'm not sure how the transaction is gonna occur. I believe this resolution is designed to specifically allow the Commissioner of Public Safety to authorize a prepayment if in fact the grant terms allow for it, or if the grantee Homeland Security allows for a prepayment. That, I believe, is still waiting to be determined. If there's nothing in writing from Homeland Security that says you may indeed prepay these items, that transaction would not be authorized by my department. I think Alex was hoping this would be passed in case that does occur, and in case the last remaining items are not received within that time period.
You mean the 30-day extension that they got?
Yes. So
So does
that's
the
what I think
resolution-
was the intention. I don't know if Josh has anything
I wanted
further.
that one.
You've seen some emails back and forth, but that's what I believe was the intent of this resolution.
Yeah,
The first I saw this was about 10:30, so, I just wanna make sure that we're not caught in between the 2 years.
Yeah,
because
I
it's
think because of
Motorola.
the wherefore be resolved, it's very specific that it has to be part of the grant terms and given permission from Homeland Security to prepay. I don't know that they'll give that permission, and I would not authorize that payment without that specific allowance in writing.
So does that include the 30 days, that reference or not? I'm not
subject to the grant terms.
Well, it would be part of the grant terms.
Okay, so then that covers you.
I-
So we're
yeah.
good, so we're covered.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's received an email, I don't know that he's received anything other than the email saying, we will allow you your claim and it past the 30 days. He didn't receive, I believe, a letter from Homeland Security that said it's been fully, extended. I think they're gonna allow the disbursement paperwork after the deadline, and they're asking for when after that deadline will be. This is, I think, is a safety net in case they say we can prepay and we're not ready, if we have to go beyond that 30 days, I believe is Alex's intention.
Any other questions or comments on this resolution? All in favor? Any opposed?
9-0.
Okay, thank you. Annie just handed out a handout resolution. Okay, this is in reference to the Board of Trustees at the college, the board seat that was, actually has been left vacant by Nick Speranza's retirement from the Board of Trustees. We went through a series of interviews. We met 9 people. There were originally 12 applications or intents. It was whittled down to 9 for various reasons. We interviewed 9 people. Actually, I was very impressed and thought it was a great group of people that did step up. The person who did actually get the seat at this point was very impressive, and it was a great interview. And that is Teresa Hamlin from the Center for Discovery. In full disclosure, she is also the sister of our DPW commissioner, Ed McAndrew. And it was also somebody that a number of board members had reached out and expressed their interest in as well. So I'd like a motion on this
So moved.
resolution. Kathy, second. Jonathan, discussion?
Can I say something?
Sure.
With regards
Yep.
to the caliber? I think that's why it's important that, you know, we do put these kinds of requests out, you know, in an open way so that the best possible people can apply. And since there were so many good people, I would like to make a recommendation and get the support of the legislature that the college has among those people that didn't make it, some sort of task force or group that looks at their admissions, because they were down 130, that was their target, they missed their target by 130, and that's a significant number. It's not 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. And that knock-on effect, I think, triggered the college coming to the legislature for an additional 400,000, or 300,000, excuse me. So I don't know if I need to put this in a resolution form, or if you just need a general consensus that we recommend that they take some of the people that didn't make it as a trustee, and they have a committee that specifically looks at their admissions numbers.
I certainly think it's a good idea. I think we can make the recommendation to the board to do that, and if the applicants are willing, I think it's a great idea. So I think we can make that recommendation very easily.
So do I need to put it in writing?
I
in the form of a
don't think so.
resolution?
I think we can
Okay.
just have a conversation with the chairman and of the board and suggest it and see how they would like to handle that.
Can I get just a read from the other members of the
Sure.
legislature if they're behind that idea?
Does everybody else think that's a good idea?
So I-
Just a
Yes, I
yes or
do.
no question.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody opposed?
So will there be a letter going out to the other,
The other applicant,
respondents?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, of course. We'll contact them and let them know how it went, yeah. Okay, anything further? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay. What's that?
I'm just clarifying, was there any opposition?
No, I didn't see any.
None?
Okay. Mr. Green,
Yes,
again, thank you for coming. If you would join us here at the end of the table. and
my pleasure.
We'll revisit this conversation. As everybody knows, the Charter Commission is, by the charter, calls that it is reconvened or brought together every 10 years. The last Charter Commission was put together in 2005, so therefore we're looking to put it together for next year, for 15. And we started a discussion last week, and we thought it would be good if we had the chairman of the last commission.
Co-chair.
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 Well, there were originally going to be 2 of you, so we do have one of the co-chairs. And to answer some questions about the process and how you think it might be improved upon this time around. So if you would like, I'll open it up to you if you have any opening comments, and then there'll probably be a lot of questions.
Well, start from the beginning. I will tell you that it was a very interesting experience. I learned a lot about county government, home rule, et cetera, that I didn't know anything about prior to this. Positives and negatives. Positives were the experience. We felt that we made some headway. Negatives were that the Charter Commission needs a little bit of budget. We didn't have any, and there were some situations where we would have liked to have been able to get some experts that required funding to assist us with, trying not to have to reinvent the wheel and get information. Another positive, that was a negative, but another positive is that we had a tremendous amount of cooperation from the commissioners as well as people from other counties, whether they be people from other county legislators, people from other county governments. We had Ed Diana here, and he spoke to us at a meeting. We had supervisors from within the town that spoke to us, and Jerry Benjamin came here and spoke to us. So we were really blessed that a tremendous amount of support that we got from both internal in Sullivan County and outside of Sullivan County, and even from the state. So the only thing I would add is, we probably, or not we, I'm not in it, the Charter Commission could use some budget to get some experts. The only other negative is we were a little bit frustrated at the end and felt that the recommendations were not completely digested by the legislature at the time, and a formal feedback probably should have been given to the Charter Commission. That wasn't completely given to the Charter Commission. It was informally done, and I think that that was probably the conclusion, and I think Dick Risen would probably say the same thing. The conclusion of the Charter Commission didn't fully manifest itself, and I would have liked to have seen that happen. And that's pretty much my brief. I wasn't completely prepared for this, so that's pretty much my brief synopsis of how the experience went on, which I think was 2 years. Did we do it for 2 years?
It was 2 years, and you met once or twice a month, Robert, do you remember?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Annie, did we meet twice a month or once a month? I'm almost
I
thinking
think you
it was
met twice.
Yeah,
And your meetings were open to the public, Bob?
yes.
Okay.
We had normal people.
Okay, Kitty, your hand went up first, I saw that.
Looking at what the Charter Commission addressed in the last time, I reviewed some of that. I'm wondering what you would suggest to this county going forward be some of the things that we should be looking towards for the future. I know there was wishes and mays and musts and those kind of things, but is there anything in specific that you either did not, that you felt should have been passed, that maybe needs to be revisited, or other things within the Charter Commission that maybe should be looked at the present time for the new group?
I'd like to answer that, but I really can't because I'm not really comfortable answering. I don't have enough information in front of me. I'd have to review all the recommendations again to say that to you.
Would you mind coming back then if it was that? Because to me, I don't begrudge a new Charter Commission starting.
It's up to the next commission.
Hold on.
No, I don't begrudge a new Charter Commission starting from the beginning. I just don't necessarily agree with reinventing the wheel, from the beginning.
And what I would recommend, and I think you hit it on the head, is our final conclusions and resolutions. You have that, right,
I
Andy?
do.
So, yes,
Okay.
you can have that.
If you could give that to the new commission to start with, I think that it would give them a little bit of groundwork, and we were able to get the original Charter Commission's information, and that helped us a lot. So I think I'd go in that direction.
Okay, Cindy, you have your hand. Then John.
I think that there's some considerations that the legislature should probably make, whether, like Kitty had mentioned, whether we start from scratch. I'm not supporting that. I think that we should look at, the charter as a whole and amend it where it needs to be amended. And I would like to see the legislature be a part of that process before we get to that point with the commission itself. And the commission, open meetings, and I don't know if you did, like interviewed the departments and county officials and tried to get input there? I
We
don't know
did.
how that went.
We did, so just so you know, we did, and everybody was extremely helpful. We had, from the sheriff through the DA's office, through the county attorney's office, all of county management was there. Ira spent a
And that
lot
was
of
done
time
in
at
the
the meetings.
questionnaire, form that you sent out and then got back and reviewed, or did you have open
No,
meetings?
they actually came
or-
here, and they came to the committee meetings, and they were here, besides questionnaires. I mean, the cooperation within the county was tremendous. It was just, I don't know if Jonathan, put guns to people's heads or what happened, but everybody gave us a tremendous amount of cooperation.
Well, because when you look at the county charter as a whole, it's such an important document. Now that I've been a legislator for 3.5 years, I can see where, in reviewing it, there's been a lot of amendments to the original intent of that, and I would like to have us look at,
You don't remember that?
when the amendments occurred. I know the commission recommended, I think it was a 10, 11, 12 maybe resolutions to amend the charter
Yeah, I
that
can't
were
remember
passed by
now.
resolution, because I have that somewhere.
I have it right here, do I review?
No, I think it's a dozen, right? It's a dozen resolution
Yeah.
amendments. And also, there was a question at one point about, legal for that, and I know Sam had spoken about possibly sitting on the commission, and I'd like to see an independent representation of legal, just because, no offense to, our county legal, but I think it kind of creates a little bit of a
Actually,
conflict of interest.
I can speak openly. Sam was with us at most of the meetings, and I didn't think it created any controversy.
He was
Um,
on the commission?
No,
I don't think he was a
There was a
formal,
le-
I don't think he was a
to give
formal
legal
member of
advice
the
if
commission.
needed.
Right, so recommendations, but not on
was-
the commission
So did
Yeah.
Ira. Ira and Sam
Right.
attended the meetings, if
Yeah,
I
and
recall the history.
both of them,
That's
from a
correct.
legal standpoint, were a tremendous addition to
Right, but
us.
they would make recommendations, but not necessarily sit on the
When
commission
Right.
itself.
They
we
can't
did,
sit on it.
we did when asked. We were there to be a resource when asked.
Yeah, and they were a tremendous amount of resource to us. And the fact that the county let both Ira and Sam be there at most of the meetings was
Well, they're
tremendously
open,
helpful.
right, so you can have input from,
Yeah, but
right.
the fact that you were
Yeah,
able
we
to
weren't
give
there
us
to
these
steer.
people to
I
be
know
there was
that.
great.
So I would just
I'm
like to
fine.
see this legislature review the
I know.
charter and make
I know how it
recommendations,
works.
guidelines for the commission
They
ahead
should
of
by
time,
now.
because
Well,
the
Should that really
legislature.
go the opposite
That's
way?
good.
That's the opposite of
Hold
what.
on.
Sorry.
Jonathan
But-
was the
Yeah.
next up with his hand up, so.
That's, the spirit of a charter commission is not necessarily the ground up, but they're supposed to take a new look at the entire thing.
Right.
That's the whole reason every decade. It's
So
not
at
just
some point
it's
the
not just to
legislature
build
will have
upon what was already in place. It's, you certainly get the recommendations, the last ones as a historical benchmark, but it's to review the whole charter. Make sure it's still a viable form of government and governing instrument going for the next decade.
And I think we should do the
input,
same.
yeah, but input first defeats the purpose of the independent review.
Yeah, and
And-
that's what I learned, I'm sorry, Jonathan, that's what I learned by looking at it, was our job was to take the charter independent of you. To take it to, and we really did, we started with reading the charter from beginning to end and asked Sam and Ira questions about everything in it, so we understood the basic. So we had an idea of what Gene Blaby and Walter Rulin and whatever, and were thinking when they wrote it.
Mhm.
So we had that, and then we moved up from there. Then we make the recommendations, and then you, as the legislature, dissect the recommendations
Okay,
that we
that's
make.
fair.
And
Mhm.
that's, we sift it down for you. That's the objective here.
I know other counties do it differently
Yeah.
than that, because
They getting
there's different
excited?
ways to do it. But I would be comfortable with that approach as well, to have the legislature review and come back with recommendations, yeah.
And I think that's where Jonathan was going, that was the intention, for us to sift it down to a point, to say to you, the legislature, this is where we think the weaknesses are, this is what we think you should do, and then it's up to you to do it.
Okay, Cora?
Thanks for coming, we really appreciate your time. And something that you said sort of sparked memory of recognition with regards to the recommendations, not, and you put it in a very diplomatic way, not digested, it wasn't anything formal, and I noticed that as, with the law enforcement committee, we had the same sort of issue. We couldn't do everything in the time that we originally allotted. We had to take a little bit more time, and then the recommendations in their entirety, I don't think were given their rightful time for digestion on the legislative board. So I have this sort of overriding sense of, you know, like, I wish we could have done a do-over, you know, so that all the time and effort that's put in to something like that rides through the process and doesn't fall short when it comes time for adoption or debate or whatever, when the recommendations come to the legislature.
That's a big piece.
And I know, like with the electrical licensing board, we took a different approach, and they came over the course of the 6 months that they were redoing the electrical licensing law. Doesn't mean that at the end, at the 11th hour, there still aren't people raising their hands saying, well, what about this clause? If you were given a do-over chance, would you consider it to be prudent to have interim reports to the legislature so that the digestion process isn't like you're trying to eat a giant meal at the end, but that you're digesting it as time goes by? Is that, I can see from the look on your face.
I'd love to have Dick here for this, but I think not. I think that
Mhm.
the best would be the way we did it.
Mhm.
Create a report, give you the report. If you'd like members or chair people or somebody to come in and present it and answer questions, that's fine.
Mhm.
But I don't think that along the process,
Mhm.
we could have even given you a fair interim report that meant anything until we really,
Mhm.
you know, again, this committee, and I was very fortunate, the people that were on that committee were very dedicated and really didn't have hidden agendas.
Mhm.
They truly wanted to make a better government, and they truly wanted to taste every piece of it, sift it, and create a report of where the weaknesses were and what recommendations could be made.
Mhm.
And even some of our recommendations, I remember, were a little bit wishy-washy because we couldn't agree on them. Because, you know, some of the areas were, you know, county manager versus legislative
Executive.
chair versus, you know, those were areas that we couldn't really come up with anything strong because we didn't have concurrence. But in general, I don't think we could have created an interim report. I think a final
Right.
report is all we could have done.
And so to answer the question about, you know, that you felt that there was a lack of digestion, or it wasn't fully digested by the legislature, there was no formal presentation at the end, how would you, if you had a chance to do it over again, would you have done it differently, that part of it?
Well, I think the only thing that we would have liked to have seen, and I think we were probably caught in a political changeover from the time we started to the time we finished, is that correct, John?
Yes.
I mean, just speaking to the conclusion, I mean, and this happens whenever you create groups that provide you with a report of recommendations. I mean, the system's designed around, they spent 2 years, and there was a lot of ownership at where they concluded. Rightly so. They spent 2 years of their life creating what their recommendations were. They owned them, they came to their conclusions. It doesn't always convert to the next group agreeing with all of them. And I think those were the two things that happened. One is we got the report and it was well done, well written, and we agreed with several of the recommendations and implemented them, and some we didn't, as a collective legislative body. And I think there's no easy way to, when someone takes ownership in the reports they write and their recommendations, if you don't follow them, there's gonna be some hard feelings, lack of it.
I don't know
But
there were hard
I think
feelings
there
or
was the
lack.
timing was,
Yeah.
there was 2 reports issued. I think there was one set, and then it took a while for the final, because we passed the resolution packets in 2 pieces, if I remember right. There was the ones that were all agreed upon, that happened first, and then there was a pretty good gap, and then
It was
by
two
no-
thousand seven,
Yeah.
there was like at least 7 local
So,
laws.
I think if the process starts and ends, maybe a little more finite time period might help, but.
The only thing I would be looking for is that when the commission gets done, that the legislature just issues them a report based upon the recommendations. You know, if there are 10 recommendations, we approve this, not at this time, the legislature disagreed with this because blah, 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 blah. That would be the only
Yeah,
thing,
that would make sense.
and in general, and that was the only, because I had people from the commission or the committee calling me after, well, what about this and what about that? And, I couldn't really give them the answers that I would like to have given them. Well, the legislature disagreed with us because, and the commission maybe didn't have information that the legislature had, or there could be budget issues. There could be a lot of reasons for not agreeing with things. And Jonathan's right. After 2 years of your life meeting twice a month, some of the people had very strong feelings. We used a lot of consensus agreement as opposed to, because I wouldn't allow a situation, I didn't want to go through any situation where at the end of a resolution, the committee was 5-4 in favor or against, because I didn't want those kind of conclusions. If we couldn't reach a consensus, then we probably didn't make a recommendation.
I'm actually kidding that
You mentioned in the beginning of your information presentation here, budgetary wise, if we, the legislature, were going to budget anything, do you see an area that it should be focused on? And if so, how to go deal with that piece of the funding?
The only area that we had, and the only one I can remember right now is that Jerry Benjamin had offered to consult with us, and of course there was a fee associated with that. I think, and Dick might remember this better, there might have been a couple of others that offered that.
Someone to travel, if I remember right, to
Yeah,
bring some experts in, put them up for the night so they can come and speak.
Yeah, there might have
And
been
it wasn't big
some.
numbers.
No, I don't think there was a lot of money involved. I know that it's an open area that had some issues. I don't, in hindsight, I don't think that it would have changed anything as far as what our final conclusions were if we had money to put these people up or to pay consultants or whatever. But I do remember that the issue came up and, there wasn't budget money out there. I don't think we're talking about significant money. We probably would be talking about
$10,000.
10,000 or less. But I don't even think, but I think that if that was an issue, I don't think that would have changed anything. Sam's
So the
agreeing with me.
basic outcome would be probably the same as you had, even
Yeah.
though you didn't have the funding to get the experts in.
Yeah, I don't think it would have changed much. I know that there was an opportunity to go to, I think, Ulster County to do some on-site look, see, touch, feel, and, some of the people in the committee were like, well, who's gonna pay for me to do that? But that didn't happen often, and, some of us said, who cares, we'll go, we'll do it.
You know,
Okay, but
good.
Going through the process, do you have any suggestions on the selection process of who should be on the committee? Did you learn, in other words, geographic or certain backgrounds, or, did you learn anything that, and also on, and how
what's
many?
really interesting, and I'm gonna tell you all this, the committee members were chosen by individual legislators. I guess the way I understood it, each of you chose someone from your district. I have to tell you that I don't know what guidance were given at the time, and Jonathan can maybe enlighten on that, or Kathy, but it was a tremendously diverse group of people. We had one or two that fell off, but the rest of them were dedicated and they were diverse. I'll give you the example of 3 people, me, Dick Reisling, and Noel Van Swol. And
Oh,
we're
boy.
talking about three people that are totally different. One that's completely right, one that's completely left, and one that's a centrist. We had people that were younger, people that were older. We had men and women, black, white, and everybody got along well, and everybody came from a different, or fairly different backgrounds. And I applaud the group at the time that selected these people because they did a tremendously good job. So that would be the recommendation I would tell you. You know, look for people in your district that would be willing to serve. There's a time commitment. It was probably 3 hours a day. Were we 3 hours or 2 hours? 2 hours, twice a month. We were pretty
You didn't always
conservative.
stay within that limit.
What?
You didn't always stay within that limit.
No, sometimes it got a little carried away.
Yeah,
But, you know, again, these people that served, you know, voraciously, and the legislators who chose them did a very good job. I would tell you to try to do the same thing. Find people within your district that, you know, like you were talking about earlier, how many people from the college wanted to serve on the board. Find people that want to serve, find people from diverse backgrounds, and it's a win situation.
Okay, Cindy?
Yeah, yeah, thank you for the information, and, yeah, I'm sorry that Dick wasn't here as well. But I'm just looking at the state, recommendations for charter commissions, and because the county charter is such an important document, because this is what it does, it prescribes the structure of county government. It provides for the elected legislative body to determine policy, exercise powers of legislation, appropriate monies, specify officers responsible for the performance, powers, and duties of the county, provides the manner of election appointment, terms of office, method of removal of county officers. So, you know, it's a document that, and in this state, recommendation here, the basic decisions, it says, in establishing a charter commission, a county legislative body may endow it with broad authority to determine the scope of its own concerns, or it may give the commission specific directives. So that's what I'm advocating for.
Give them specific directives.
It's a recommendation in here, authority of the commission, because, you know, basically as an elected official, we work under the county charter. And so, just like you said, the commission ultimately will bring together people from diverse backgrounds. They'll be soliciting a lot of information through open meetings and through, you know, elected officials, but being that this document is really paramount to government, I wanna add that extra legislative oversight.
We were all interviewed
I
and
was
then
just
gave
gonna
our
say,
own,
right.
you know, what we thought were issues that should be addressed.
Why
I think
would
if
we
you
not
don't-
wanna give the commission directives?
You would be, in theory, you would go to the commissioner and
But see,
say,
we
"Here's-"
have the authority to do that.
That is your
No.
authority, you're gonna meet.
We may endow the commission with broad authority to determine the scope of its own
He was
concerns,
bringing
or give the
his-
commission specific
he's-
directives.
Mhm.
And I, for the record,
Yeah,
am
no,
I appreciate it, and
advocating
this discussion's gonna
specific
go on, but I think
directives.
that
Now they should.
Okay, I just
we
wanna get
understand
for
what
the
your point
record,
is, yeah, we got it on the record.
as a legislator representing the people.
But we want to hear more.
Under-
And that's just
Under
that
the-
kind, other counties don't
what
do it
Rob
that way,
has
so
to
it depends
share
on
with
what
us.
book you're reading.
This
I
is
just
a
have a
state
comment.
document
Okay.
with the
Hold on.
recommendations.
But at this point in time, we were trying to get history.
Right.
Right.
Not to.
But I
Yeah,
think you were done.
And either way,
You were done.
Cindy, you know, that's the prerogative of the legislature. And
Thank
you
you,
guys
okay.
you guys will talk about this in the future, I'm sure.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
That's all I
Kathy, you
wanted
had
to
your
say.
hand up before, did you have a?
I just wanna say that,
Going right
since we're talking about the budget, which is gonna be presented soon, maybe we could just, I was thinking maybe $5,000 just to put in the budget in case we need the money. If we don't use it, we don't use it, but you had mentioned 10, but if there were issues where people wanted to travel, I mean,
Let him
Um,
come, you would
But he
determine.
did
But-
just.
Hold on,
Yeah.
hold on,
I know,
Kathy's
but
making a
What-
comment.
you could put it in and not use it opposed to not having it, cause he said, he suggested that it would be a good thing to do, so I'm gonna say.
Anybody else? Rob, thank you
Thank you
very
very
much.
much.
Thanks, Robert.
Appreciate it.
That insight is terrific, thank you.
And if you have any other questions, feel free to call me anytime. Thanks.
Okay, take care. And again, I'll invite Dick to come back and share his
Yes.
views for next month's meeting. And we'll probably should put together a special meeting just for this issue, because we hopefully will get a committee in place by the end of this year so that they
Good.
can hit the ground running in January. Okay, at this point, we'll take public comment.
No, I have a comment. I'd like
It's public
to make
comment?
a request.
Okay.
Oh, okay, then I'm
Go
doing
ahead.
it in public comment as a legislator. I've had conversations with Josh today and with Jonathan, and my request is that we bring forward the date that we vote on the budget. I know it hasn't been decided yet, right, Jonathan, when the budget sessions are gonna be held, but you looked at the calendar and you said like December 4th.
No.
If we wanted to pass it early, that would be a Thursday. You can always set the date and move it, but if we wanted to do it early, we'd have to move the public hearings to, early November, cause late November is between Thanksgiving and such, so we could have the public hearings on the the first 2 Thursdays in November.
Well, I thought the reason why we changed the tentative budget date was we wanted more time, so now why would we move it from the 20th of December to the
Yeah,
4th?
what's
What,
the
am I
reason?
missing something here?
I'm
I need
confused.
time.
Well, and I think that gets to the public session.
We can
so
have the
a-
public
like I'm
hearings
doing
early,
time.
cause I don't think that
You
doesn't
are?
change when the adoption date is.
I
We can
mean-
at least get those set and then we can call a meeting.
Because once we get the budget next Tuesday, I mean, I wanna look at it and see how many departments we wanna have in, so I actually want more time, not less. I mean, you guys can, but I think we don't rush it.
Why were we making that change?
The reason because the last 2 years, we've crammed all of the work on well, 1 year it was the 19th of December, and we had an 8-hour session in the legislative hearing room the day before, or something like that. And this year, it's on the 18th of December, and I just think that it's now mid-October, so I don't know how many weeks that is. About 2 weeks left in October. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks. And if 7 weeks isn't enough time, then 7 weeks isn't enough time, but I think we should have budget work sessions where all the
Right.
legislators go through it in a room together. We haven't
So
gone
we
through the
can do that
CAFR.
before the current dates, right?
No, we're only halfway through the capital budget, so we want more meetings with that too, just.
So do we have any work sessions scheduled aside from the
We didn't
capital
get-
budget?
We didn't get the budget yet, so.
Right, Tuesday.
Yeah.
So we have
dates
nothing
based on-
scheduled.
Based on need, I guess.
Well, if people still want it would be which Thursday in December? The 18th of December is when we would vote on it?
The normal
The
board
week
meeting
of-
is the 18th.
Right.
Then we would have meetings the 4th and the 12th. Those
The
are the
11th.
Thursdays we're here,
Yeah.
but those are the 3 Thursdays, but you can't go past the 20th, so. And I
If
wouldn't
we have
imagine
the
we're
week
not gonna have a
before.
meeting on
The 20th is
Friday
so
when we have
much.
a meeting on Thursday, so
Right.
the latest it would be the
All right,
18th.
well, I thought I'd put it out there.
I agree, I mean, if
we
everybody's
can
in
do it
consensus,
sooner,
we could do it.
Does everybody understand what the question is?
Yes.
And do we want a consensus of that?
No, we don't need it
No.
now,
No,
so.
let's-
Well, if you're gonna try and schedule,
The public hearings, I think we can have, because the budget's gonna be out, that's getting input from the
Absolutely.
public,
Yeah.
we don't need, we can have them early.
So if we keep the dates current, we have more time to hold public hearings, right?
I like the idea of having the public hearings earlier.
Yeah, I mean.
okay, so what were the
public
dates that
comment.
you were?
The 6th at noon, which is a committee day,
December?
no, November 6th at noon,
Right.
and November 13th at 5, which is our late committee day.
Okay.
Wow.
For
Well,
the
yeah,
public
you-
hearings.
Okay.
By law, you have to have one during the day and one in the
Right,
evening.
yeah, mhm.
Does anybody have any disagreement, is anybody in disagreement with that, having the public hearings on the 6th and the
And if
13th?
needed, then we can always
15th.
have more public hearings.
I thought you
15th?
said-
But
I thought you
we
said-
just have to
You
be
have to have
required to.
13 is fine with it.
13th?
Yeah, I agree.
This November 6th, November 13th, when are you gonna set them?
13th.
That's what we would need to, we need to determine this pretty quickly so that Andy can put notices
I
out.
think
No, we have
can
a
set them for those
resolution.
public hearings.
We have
Is
to-
everybody in agreement?
Sorry, what,
Yes.
did you need me?
Okay.
Jenny? Wait.
You need to have a full board meeting to set a public hearing by resolution and a legal notice.
So that means we would have to do it this afternoon at 2
Or
o'clock?
this month, before the end of the month.
So I'd
Oh, let's
say
do it
let's put the
today, yeah.
resolution
I don't wanna come
today.
back for a special meeting.
Setting
No,
two
we're
public
not.
hearings on the sixth
And the
at noon and
Sure,
the
you're making
13th
more
at
work for
5.
yourself.
At 5,
For the
I
okay,
second
purposes-
that.
5 PM, okay.
I got it.
Thank you, Annie.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, great. Thank you, Cora.
All right.
Any other public comment? Yes, Mr. Walter?
Yes, 5 o'clock to me does not strike me as evening. It's when
No.
a lot of people get off work and they're not in their best of clothes. I know we don't have a lot of people showing up and so forth.
What's your point?
But it's like closing the door to people who may wanna come. When you say evening, I'm thinking 7.
We did have one evening meeting last year, didn't we? I mean, I know I had 2 in Liberty, but that was,
Those are special town.
those, yeah, that
If
had
it's for
nothing
the
to do
public,
with-
why can't it be at 7? Is there a reason why?
We just did a resolution.
No, we didn't.
We
Withdrawing the resolution for the time and
We
set
didn't do
date.
a
No, we
resolution.
didn't.
No.
It's just-
No, we
Oh,
just
yes,
did.
Yeah,
Yes, we did.
November
We
6th.
just
voted on
did.
November-
Yeah, but we
But
didn't.
based
No,
on,
I'm not begrudging it, I'm just saying, that we need to defeat the resolution in full board and change the date, because
time.
we just did a resolution,
Right, we're just
if I'm
trying to-
correct.
I mean,
Opposed.
we really
Okay.
have not had any difference in attendance, whether it's been at 5, 6, or 7, but it's the
The
will
o-
of the board.
The only
I
thing
think,
else,
I think we're comfortable with the times.
the only thing I'll say about I get where you come from, but Jonathan's right about the time difference, but the only thing is the commissioners, in my opinion, and some of the department heads should be at the meeting, so to ask them to come home and come back while it's here at 5, because I think they should be part of this. I think the 5 o'clock is better for most people and for our employees and commissioners.
So I'm just saying,
Okay.
raise the
Any other public comment?
It's what you have to do.
Motion to adjourn.
No,
Okay, no motion to go
executive
into
session.
executive session. Cora, second.
I'll second.
Jane?
Like, we can
Okay.
I gotta go.
We're actually going-
I have to take a break, yes.
We're going into it for 2 reasons. The first one is for collective bargaining. The second one is a potential litigation. So it's both of those issues that we'll be discussing. I don't know in which order.